And after surviving Hurricane Ike, hundreds of students are preparing to graduate from UTMB Galveston.
And everybody knows what everyone's been through.
You'll hear one couple's story. First in HD. 11 News at 5.
They go up too. We've learned the airport system also wants to raise the concession rate. It charges those private lots by 30%, driving their costs higher.
This weekend, students from UTMB Galveston will graduate and start a new chapter in their lives.
It's hard to compare to a normal graduation.
We'll show you what this class has had to overcome to put on a cap and gown.
It has been 8 months since Hurricane Ike, and Galveston has made great strides. Tomorrow, the city is having a rebirth celebration. It's at the Party Zone along the Strand on Post Office Street. You'll find live music and food and more than 60 businesses that have reopened downtown.
Just as Galveston is hoping to open a new chapter in its recovery efforts, hundreds of UTMB medical students this weekend will open a new chapter in their lives. They're graduating, and when you think about what they've lived through this past year, that's a really big deal. 11 News reporter Lee Ferlisi met a young couple who's traveled a long and difficult road together overcoming Ike.
To get to this moment,
Hey.
to get to these robes, to get to the title of doctor, has been quite a journey for Lara and Daniel Hochman and their UTMB classmates. You could call them the class of Ike, and some of the obstacles they overcame play out in the pictures the Hochmans have. They left behind damaged apartments battered by a storm that blew boats across the island.
It felt like I was in a dream. It was so strange.
The storm destroyed so much of UTMB, this class was forced to scatter to hospitals in and out of state. They lived out of boxes, shuttling from state to state.
You don't know which flights you can book, because you might not know where you're going to be the next week.
And we did neurology here in Houston.
And then we had to go back to Austin to finish one of the rotations.
And if that wasn't hard enough, the Hochmans had a little something else planned.
We were supposed to get married in Galveston.
They still managed to say I do 5 days after the hurricane, but in Houston, they found everything from food to flowers in days.
We, in a week, managed to find a great place to have our wedding.
And this match day probably meant more to this class than any other. They learned where they would do their residencies. Daniel and Lara's destination, Denver.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
we'll be in one house for 4 years.
So their boxes are packed, their robes are ready, and they're looking forward to the next chapter of their lives. It's titled Doctor. Lee Ferlisi, 11 News.
And congratulations to all the graduates. I know it's been a rough year for some, and glad to see the end of that road. If you're heading down to Galveston, you're going to be happy to see this beach forecast this weekend. Look at this, sunny skies tomorrow and Sunday. High temperatures in the mid-80s, in the morning in the low to mid-70s, and no real chance for rain. So a beautiful weekend to head down and catch some rays, but make sure you put on that sunscreen because the sun's high this time of year, and that's going to definitely cause you to get a summer.